Hey, I think it said it's going live. AMZ, you joined again. Thank you, AMZ, for joining 2 times in one day. Boom,
Two time.
2 times. UKPI. Hello, Nate the lawyer, and everyone. Hope you're well. We are doing well.
Yes.
We have just been. Matter of fact, we were on actually Elite's channel last week, right? Because I was so I was in Atlantic City then, so it's kind of crazy. It was kind of crazy, but
so that's why you were in and out.
yeah, because in the room that we were in, the Wi-Fi it was working, but then it stopped, and my phone connection didn't work in the room, so we had to leave out the room, and then I had to find some place. Then I went to the car, but didn't have my keys, so then I found like a spot where I had phone service, but it was just, I'm on the cell phone, so I couldn't.
I think we should start taking prop bets on this stream. That'd be good.
Prop bets?
Prop bets for what? For what?
Who will speak first? Who will speak the longest? Who will get interrupted first? That kind of stuff.
Well, I think I'll get interrupted first, and Uncivil Law will talk the longest. And yeah, I think Nate will probably speak first.
Whose camera and technology will fail?
That's true. Mine has failed horribly.
I really appreciate your financial advice stream earlier. I took lots of financial advice from your financial advice.
What financial advice? I am not a financial. I don't know what I'm talking about. I kept saying that. Right?
Yeah, make sure you get all those disclaimers out.
Yeah, I do not know what I'm talking about. I am not a financial advisor. I am totally invested in this stock. So, don't trust me. When I say buy, understand I got a position. So you guys want to talk about the AMC stuff first? Or the Tati Westbrook stuff first? All right, so let me share the screen. So for all of you who don't know what's going on, you guys should have heard, unless you guys have been like under a rock, but there are some people who do live under that rock. I've met them. They're good people.
Maybe because they live under the rock. Actually, you can make a credible case that in this day and age, with the news cycle being what it is and social media being what it is, maybe under the rock is the place to be.
That's true. It's possible. I got to do this again because I didn't share the audio. Hold on. But let me remove this from stream.
I'm going to be on Team Rock. Let's talk about that rock. It's great.
Team Rock. Oh my God. So we all understand what's been going on. What are we talking about? AMC. Yes, I got to go back to AMC. So AMC, obviously the movie chain business. So let me play this so you guys can see, so we can just get a clip on what happened today with AMC. Here we go. You guys should be able to hear this if an ad doesn't play.
Hey, Kevin, you're thinking what?
Thinking there's a new sheriff in town. You've got to be very careful shorting these stocks. They're going to zero. This Reddit crowd organization, the whole move to find these very, very short positions and then use this organized methodology. It's almost like this. We tried to do this years ago with institutional trading, and it didn't work. These guys are doing it on the internet, on social media, and it's working, and it's incredible. It gives a chance for new life. I see no problem with AMC raising capital here because now they can basically take their IP, which is their brand, and try and pivot. Whatever's left in movie going, I have no idea, but you can take a brand, you can take $200 million, and you can fix it. And so if you're short this stock, you're really hurting.
Jim Stewart, he said there's a new sheriff in town. I mean, the point being, this is not your father's stock market that we're witnessing today and through this entire meme mania existence.
No, it's not. I mean, it is a fascinating phenomenon as long as you're not caught up in the turmoil. I think a lot of people said, oh my God, this is not rational. But it is rational if you're one of these meme traders. There is a methodology here. Obviously, they pick very down stocks that are thinly traded with high levels of short interest. Then they come up with a story. You've got to have the story, and they put that out on Reddit or other social media, and they whip these traders into a frenzy. There's also this overlay of kind of an Occupy Wall Street feel here. So that the objective, for some of these traders at least, may not be to make money. It is simply to punish the short sellers, and in particular, the hedge funds, which they think are shorting the stock.
So essentially, what's been going on in the market is that the hedge funds short stocks, when it's essentially they're betting on the stock losing value. So if the stock goes up in value, they lose a lot of money, but the retail investors gain a lot of money. So essentially that's what they've been doing. First they did it with GameStop, because GameStop, now for you guys know what GameStop is, right? You send out now GameStop's business model, for those of you who don't know, was, and this is the year before AMC, GameStop's business model was that they sell physical games. You go to the place, you get a physical game, and there was a buy and sell trade piece to that. Have you guys ever used GameStop?
Yes.
I have.
And you remember the buy and sell, but GameStop, they buy the games and they resell the games and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that was their business model. And essentially they were the middleman, right? There was the person you go to buy the games between PlayStation. But then something happened, and it was called you can download the games. That's the same thing that happened with Blockbuster Video, right? Blockbuster Video used to go and get a physical video at Blockbuster. I remember when I first got my first Blockbuster card, I felt like somebody. I was like, But
for me, it wasn't Blockbuster. It was a company called Two Cows.
Two Cows.
It was great.
But unfortunately, what happened with GameStop is people started downloading games. Why am I going there? And you get the game forever, right? I remember my CDs or something get scratched or something. You're like, I can't play this game, and you got to have some place to put the CD. But if it's all downloaded to the hard drive, you got no storage problems. The games are already there, So they essentially took GameStop out of the market. Now, GameStop was still good because they still sold the consoles. But now you can buy the consoles from Amazon, right? Well, I'm going to go into GameStop, and I can just order it from Amazon, So GameStop is going out of business, essentially. So what they did was they shorted GameStop stock and said, we think it's going to go to the crap. And they bought GameStop. So GameStop, I think it was at $8, and now it's like at $300 a share. So they did the same thing with AMC. Now, with AMC, I bought into AMC early because I thought people were going to go back to the movies, because I'm assuming with the pandemic, the stoppage in people going to the physical movie theaters was just based on that, but people will go back to the movies. So I'm going to throw it to you guys. Most of Wall Street believes that that no one wants to go back to the movie theaters after post-pandemic. They believe now the argument here is that people have, during the pandemic, the year that you've been forced to be home, they've upgraded their systems in their home. Instead of getting a 34-inch screen, you got the 94-inch wall screen and stuff like that. Now your home is a theater. And with places like Wonder Woman 1984 was released straight streamed. So they're saying that model now is going to be the new model going forward. They're going to put the theaters out of business. How do you guys feel like that? Do you guys think the theaters business is going to be killed post-pandemic? Go ahead, Legal Bites.
I don't think it's going to be killed post-pandemic, but I think it might be changed, might be different, because I mean, the even before the pandemic, the ways that movie houses really made their money was through sales of popcorn and candy and all that kind of stuff. They usually didn't actually make that much. At least that's my understanding anyway. They weren't actually making much money from the actual ticket sales. Even still, ticket sales prices were going up. To buy a bucket of popcorn has also gone way up over the years, and so people don't necessarily want to spend that money. But I think that I think AMC was one of the companies before the pandemic that I thought was pivoting in quite a good way, which was by introducing a subscription model. I remember my husband and I, we had both signed up for the AMC subscription service, where we would be able to watch like up to 3 movies a week or something by going in there. And we never used it that much because we just were too busy, but we were able to see more movies than we otherwise would have without that subscription service. And it was still worth it. So I think that they're probably going to continue to have to pivot and sort of change their business model somewhat in order to survive in the world that we live in. But I don't think that people want to stop going to the movies. Like that's preposterous, because the experience is completely different watching a movie in your home, even if it's on a 72-inch screen with a surround sound system. It's not the same as going to the movies.
Yeah, it's like going to the theater, going to watch a football game, right? It's just not the same watching it at home. I agree with that totally. I'm with you. What do you think, Kurt?
Well, I think it's going to depend on a couple things. The biggest factor is how the producers of movies will or will not change their behavior. Because to the extent that first-run movies will only be available in theaters going forward, I think will drive a lot of this equation. So it'll be interesting to see in the long term what that looks like. Hollywood is so used to using theatrical releases that I think there will be a lot of temptation to revert to that market. I think that it's more likely that movie theaters will change in their scope. I think some people are more comfortable with the displays and the things at home, and you can always make your own popcorn, and you don't have to deal with the sticky floors or the person coughing behind you or the person talking too loud.
But that's all
Or
part
so
of the
many-
experience.
Yeah, and you say that like it's a good thing. So I'm perfectly happy to be at home and watch my movies at home. And I'm also happy to watch them 6 months after they come out because it's fine. It'll be on Netflix eventually. What do I care?
But but go ahead. I'm sorry, I thought you were finished.
I know. It's going to depend on how the movie theater behavior changes. So and how the culture changes. But AMC has been doing well. Alamo Drafthouse is opening new theaters. So there's some interest in the market that people think it's going to, and people have been cooped up in their homes so long that maybe, if anything, there will be an overcorrection and the movie theaters will be packed. So who knows?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm thinking three things. Number one, the movie theater thing is a $1 billion industry, right? When the next Marvel movie comes out, that's billions of dollars right there, right? And you get 2 bites at the apple. You get the billions of dollars at the movie theater, and then you get the billions of dollars of the DVD when you release the super cut with the extra scenes that nobody saw within the DVD, right? The physical DVD that they sell, or they stream it on Amazon or something like that. But that's part of the package, right? So you're saying, so I'm saying, are the movies, are places like Marvel and Disney going to give up that there's hundreds of billions of dollars putting these movies in the theaters? I just don't see it, because at the end of the day, when the new Star Wars movie comes out, if they just when it first comes out, they just put it in theaters. So if you want to watch it at that time, and I think that incentive is enough for me to go watch it in the movie theaters at that time. But go ahead, Alita. I was cutting you off.
Yeah, no, I was going to say I think Disney is definitely an interesting player in this space, because they've recently introduced Disney Plus, and they've started to introduce movies and extended TV shows onto Disney Plus. So I would wonder what their profit margins have been with subscriptions on Disney Plus as opposed to theatrical releases. I mean, I personally think that it would be a shame for the fan community, for people that love the MCU, people that love Star Wars, that want to go for the midnight showing experience. Like I was one of those for, I remember when the prequels came out for Star Wars, and I went to every single midnight showing for each movie. And
you're hardcore. That's hardcore.
It was fun. It was so much fun. Even though I had class the next day, I was like there with my homework, sitting in line with my friends. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, like, you then it kind of helps to build up the overall fan experience. And so I really would hope that would not be given up. But another thought that I was having is that I think that even before the pandemic, again, when it comes to the retail industry, I've had thoughts for a while that industry was going to change to something that became more of an experience, I guess more of an experience that people are buying when they go shopping. So people that want to shop in person in a retail store may be paying a bit more of a premium for a premium experience to go shopping, as opposed to just doing your shopping online. And I think that the same can possibly be true for movie theaters as well. So we may see a lot of just your average basic movie theaters going away, but movies like the Alamo Drafthouse, where they have so many unique experiences, where you can have a sing along, a quote along, a dance along to a lot of these movies that are just such unique experiences, that those probably I really don't think that those experiences will go away.
I'm going to support whatever proposition gets rid of the MCU and cinematic universes in general, because they're lame and lead to the death of new and novel ideas.
Oh,
so
you and my
whatever
husband are so
proposition
great.
helps to get rid of it will be great.
Movie. Kevin Beaver says
Maybe we can pretend the whole thing never happened. How about that?
I love it. Whatever. I still love the MCU.
Yeah,
Even-
no, I'm a huge fan, and
Yeah.
again, I'm gonna watch whatever they bring out, especially like first day, first week. But I will say this: I do understand the business model has to change the business model eventually, because eventually it's just going to be your home stuff is going to be so good. But I don't think we're at that point now.
Yeah.
I think movies are going to be like more like basketball games and baseball games. I can watch them on screen all that, but the experience of being at the game is something different. The experience of going to the play is something different. So you know, if they're able to capture that at my house with some virtual reality, maybe we might have a problem. Kevin Beavers says movie theaters haven't innovated at all since the invention of IMAX. Facts. Whereas home theaters are getting better, cheaper, faster. But I'll say this: right now, Marvel has canned all their Phase 4. No, Phase. This is the Phase 5, right? Yeah, because Phase 4 is over. This is Phase 5. Their next Marvel movies. They're all in the can. They're not coming out till movies come out. So I'm betting all those movies are going to be $1 billion movies. That's why I bought AMC and all the movie stocks. So I own all movie stocks, not all of it, but I'm in on IMAX, all that stuff. So I got stock on all the movie stocks. So buy, send it up. But again, this is not financial advice. I don't know what's going to happen with the stock, and I have a conflict of interest, right? Because Kurt just did a video on conflict of interest, so make sure people know that. All right, so let's move on from AMC, and just so everybody understands, AMC was at like what $10 a couple of days ago. Now it's at $60. It doubled in price today, so it's been crazy. They halted trading on it for four times today for volatility. Really? Yeah, halted trading it was shooting up so fast at one point. They stopped it, and then they put it back on, and then it was just like boom. They stopped it again, so it's 4 times, and it's right now I think it's like 10% of the options market, where normally a company would be something like maybe 0.5%. So it's been crushing it all over. If you bought an AMC this morning, you doubled your investment.
Wow. By
the evening. So yeah, I got it at $13, and right now it's 62. So it's
that's
insane.
That's like an altcoin investment.
Yeah,
like cryptocurrency.
Somebody says tomorrow.
When are you going to retire, baby? Because you made so much money.
Well, no. What I've done is I put a stop loss on it. So what I've done is said if it reaches my stop loss, I think it's 55 now. So I've said if it goes down to 55, sell. Right.
Nice.
I'll take the profit, and if it drops even farther, I'll buy back. And then go on the ride, but I consume my profit. So, but we'll see. I should have bought at 70, but I'm in it. And right now, the futures market, it's trading at 68. So it's going to open high tomorrow, hopefully. But we'll see. So buy AMC. Listen. I would say don't leave this call and not pick up a share. You guys are going to open some accounts and just come with us, man. It's
not financial advice.
No, this is legal advice.
Put me down for one AMC.
What legal advice?
All right. So
Amazon just bought which Paramount or something
MGM.
like that? MGM. For $8 billion.
Yeah.
So that's also a very interesting sign, because it shows how serious the streaming companies are getting into producing their own content. Of course, Netflix is making their own original content, and now Amazon has all the IP for all that stuff. So all the movies and all the intellectual property related to that they have shows how serious Amazon is getting into producing content. So there's some additional drive there that I think is a pretty positive indicator or counter indicator for the movies, because unless Amazon starts distributing the movies, which would be hilarious, but we'll see.
Yeah, but hey, they'll just probably put them on Prime. That's it. They go right on the Amazon Prime.
That's right.
Let's move on to the next story. This one, all right, I already got it queued up. Let me just pull it up. So this one is a story that is new to us all. This is Tati Westbrook versus Without a Crystal Ball. Boom. This is what the people want to hear about. So, for those of you who don't know who these people are, on one side is Tati Westbrook. She's on the side with like with the brown background and the long hair. She looks like she's the beauty queen. But Tati Westbrook sued without a crystal ball. This is Katie Joy Paulson. She has the green background. She's wearing the green, kind of see-through shirt.
Green on green.
Green on green. For defamation, Tati has 3 million subscribers. Katie has 100,000 subscribers. It went all to shit. So supposedly the lawsuit was filed in Minnesota. I said there was no jurisdiction. Kurt was maybe jurisdiction, maybe not jurisdiction, but
It was filed in Washington, not Minnesota. That was the
oh
problem.
yeah, that's true. Yes. So eventually, I thought jurisdiction was a problem, and I also thought the lawsuit was BS. But Kurt also believed the jurisdiction was a problem, but you thought it was gonna move to jurisdiction.
I hedged my bets a lot more than you did. Yes.
Yeah. But we both thought the defamation had issues. So eventually she won the dismissal based on jurisdiction. And just so everyone knows, the whole drama community loves Kirk because he called it when he said those magic words, Lorianne
is
irrelevant. And that's like the main thing, because that's exactly what the judge wrote.
The judge wrote almost exactly those words. I was like, I told you Lorianne is irrelevant. Smack down. Smack all you guys around.
So essentially now in this case there were death threats. People's children were threatened. I'm talking about it was real sick. But now we're at the end. So Tati Westbrook has the money, and she was going to then take her lawsuit, which was dismissed without prejudice, to Minnesota, where you won't have a jurisdiction problem. And now they've come together and said they settled. So what do you think this means? I'll pass it to you, Kurt.
I'm sad. I was really looking forward to so many more precipices in the Minnesota filing. I never heard the word precipice as many times as I had with the without a crystal ball Tati thing. So many declarations, so many precipices, so many filings in this motion to dismiss. We're still on step, and I was like, and I pointed this out at one point to you, Nate, when we're talking about it, and I was like, we're not even at step 2 yet. And you're like, you're right, we are not, because we're still at step 1, motion to dismiss. We're still in we're just in some very long vertical line under step 1, the never-ending vertical line under step 1 that will not stop. It was an interesting thing to cover. It was interesting being challenged by my chat many, many times. It was very satisfying with the "I told you so" video and reveling in my greatness, because that was very validating. I'm not going to lie. But I am upset that it looks like we won't cover any more of this. So, yeah.
But Alita, did you follow the case? Because I know you came on a little later to the case.
I followed a little bit, not as closely as you guys, but I do understand that motion to dismiss. There were how many filings were there? Like 40 filings at that point.
Yeah,
something with that.
Exhibits.
Yeah. I mean, that was a lot of trees that were burned for that lawsuit.
Why are we talking about? Yeah, we're half deep into Lorianne at one point too. As I said, how did Tati forgot she was part of the lawsuit? Tati's name got no one mentioned Tati pretty much any time during the document. It was all about Katie and Lorianne. Tati forgot she was involved. So bizarre. And then the attorneys go after each other with Michael versus Michael over here with the attorneys.
Not a flattering photo of Tati. She has those crazy eyes going full force. She does. Those are crazy eyes. Those are crazy eyes.
Yeah, those are.
Oh my God.
She looks surprised.
Yeah, like this woman I'm suing? This is the woman I'm suing? So,
am I part of this lawsuit?
That's right.
So listen, I'll give you my opinion. My opinion is straightforward. I think this was all the long game played by Salts. I'm just going back now, rereading the lawsuit stuff, because I had to reread this. I'm like, how the hell did I miss this? But looking back, I remember me and Kurt had an earlier stream where Kurt said something real interesting. You had made the point that you didn't think there was jurisdiction because the whole Lorianne thing was BS, the whole agency thing was BS. And I said to myself at that point, I was like, yeah, the whole thing was BS. The agency thing is BS. And then later on, you said Lorianne, it seemed to be irrelevant to you. And I was like, what, that makes sense. And then rereading everything, right now, and again, it is hindsight 2020. But it seems like jurisdiction was always, now it just looks clear. Jurisdiction was always going to be a problem, right? It seemed like they did that to spend Katie up. They said, well, file in Washington. She got, and then I don't think Brown helped her at all by filing everything every day at what $450 an hour. He's filing more things like he's writing a news article every day, right? He's writing the New York Times worth of briefs and everything every day.
Yeah, Brown was an interesting character in this story, and his tone felt very escalating. He seemed to always be poking the bear with his tone, and
but every poke is like $450 an hour. And
I know.
And Katie's
they're expensive pokes.
Like she's in the strip club with $500 in singles. Like, yeah, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy. But at the end of the day, you get your motion to dismiss, not on the merits, but because you're in the wrong courthouse. And then guess what? Now that gives Katie leverage. Now that gives Tati leverage to say, we'll see you in Minnesota. Right? We're going to see you in Minnesota. We're going to see you in Minnesota. You went threw away $30,000, and we didn't even get to step 2.
Let's talk about how much Tati spent, though, man. I mean, it's not cheap for either of these people.
She had multiple. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying it isn't, but I think Tati got the money to spend because now, remember, Salty was the one that went over to Minnesota, talking about he's ready to file in Minnesota. So, and in Minnesota, you don't get the motion to dismiss for jurisdiction. Now you got to fight it on.
Yeah, now we have to. Yeah, this what's so hilarious about the whole thing is that these 50+ documents with how many attachments and how many precipices was to decide one part of one issue. The only issue all that resolved is you can't sue here. That was it. That was the only issue resolved. We still have to decide. Technically, we still have to decide venue. Technically, we still have to decide joinder. We definitely still have to redecide all the 12B6 stuff, which we never brought up in the first place, especially for the defamation. We can still have like all these other fights. There's so many other fights left to go.
Oh, there's always a fight that you can have.
Oh yeah, no.
No, but we're talking about in the context of the defamation claim. No, you didn't get past step 1 because this was just saying you're in the wrong courthouse. So like you're saying, they would have to go through that whole process again with salts and with oh my god, yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
Which would be good for Katie because she can clean up that motion to dismiss because it left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, but you got to pay for that though. Right? You got to pay for that, right? And then that's the problem. So that's where I think we get the settlement. And I think Tati essentially at the end of the day gets what she wants. Videos down, you settle with the other person. That's permanent, right? And now you don't have because I always thought the true lawsuit, the defamation claims were losers. I just thought they were.
The defamation looked thin, which was something I got criticized for a lot on my channel by saying, yeah, this defamation looks thin. And there was a huge pushback. Like, don't you know all the horrible things she said and how horrible a person she is? I'm like, that may well be. I'm not saying she's a good person or not. I have no opinion, nor do I have to have one because the law doesn't carry either way. Here's the standards that apply. Here's how you're going to evaluate this. There seems to be some underlying truth to some of this stuff. There seems to be protected opinion for some of this stuff. It doesn't seem to meet the elevated standard, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It looked a little thin to me, which was a criticism I got for it. So I don't know if anyone had a plan here at any point. I appreciate that you think Michael Saltz had a plan, and maybe he did, but this felt much, at least to me, felt much more bumbling than either side. If someone had a grand narrative from square one, it was not readily apparent to me.
No, well, I think it just could be something simple, right? If I'm the person that I want to make sure I get maximum value for my money, let's hit them where I'm at in Washington, see if we can make the argument. If it gets bounced, I got enough to go file the $500 fee, and I already got the attorney to go take it to Minnesota. As Tati says, she's got 1 million views per video. She throws another video, she pays the legal fees. It's not really a problem for her, and then you just continue to roll it that way. Now, what you do is you kill Katie's pockets because she's actually fighting not for the case. She's fighting for the for the YouTube. She's fighting for the drama, right? All her stuff is really for the drama. She wrote her motion to dismiss for the drama for us. And that's what I think she was fighting. But that cost her, I think, 30, 40 grand. So, but I think at the end of the day, you're right. It's, it's settled. It's over. Hopefully they'll go on with their lives.
You say that, but of course, we all know without reading it, the settlement agreement requires Katie to keep her mouth shut. So what do you think the probability of that happening is?
Oof.
I will say that when people have had a substantial amount of money taken out of their pocket, sometimes they can learn that way. You know, as much as somebody has a certain tendency to do a certain thing, sometimes that's a hard enough lesson for them that they can actually learn from that. I don't know. Maybe it'll be interesting to see though.
Yeah. But we will see at the end, because again, you know, I don't think Katie's going anywhere, but at the end of the day, you know, we will see. It's going to be tough, but I'm trying
to get Brown on my channel to talk to me, so we'll see if he responds to my emails.
Brown, if you're out there, way she'll shut up.
Maybe you can tell me about some of the ideas behind the strategy. I don't even want to know about the settlement. I want to know why you're following the way you did. What was the strategy behind that? Since it's all over now, can you help inform me? Because I'd love to know that.
The strategy was like, let's see how much she'll be willing to pay. You know, I was just like, let's, you know,
Biller's got a bill.
And it's ring the, you know, billable hours, baby. That's all that seemed to be.
Yeah.
So let's move on to let's move on to the next story. So the next story, I think, is something interesting. Dr. Fauci. So you guys heard about these Fauci emails?
Oh yes, I did.
Yeah.
My level of irritation is real, but please start the story before I go on a 10-minute long rant.
No, you can. I've seen part of it about this. Let me pull this up. I've seen part of it, but I haven't really delved into it. So I was reading this article by the BBC because, you know, I like the British broadcasting system. So they were talking about the emails, and there's some interesting stuff in here. But, you know, it seems like it really depends on your filter whether you believe it's, like, you know, deceptive or not. So
I'm pretty biased over here. I'll readily admit to my bias and filter either way. So I've done a story on Dr. Fauci before on my channel, where this is going back a couple months, where Dr. Fauci said some things, and I went through the quotes where he said them, and I interpreted the quotes to say, yes, I lied about face masks initially. I knew I was lying about face masks initially when I said you didn't have to wear them. I said that on purpose. I did it for a really good reason, though, but I was definitely lying. And I've lied about some other stuff, and I will lie in the future if it's expedient. So that's what I interpreted comments from Fauci, and I can't remember exactly what he said right now. I'd have to go back and watch my old video.
It was about mask. It was about mask.
Whatever, but the exact quote that basically is like, I'm going to lie in the future. I can't remember exactly what he said verbatim, but that was the conclusion I basically drew from that. Also, Fauci has been on basically every side of every issue at this point. We should wear masks. We shouldn't wear masks. It's dangerous to go outside. It's not dangerous to go outside. COVID hates puppies. Puppies are fine. I don't know.
But hold on. But doesn't the situation just change? Like that, I think it's an unfair criticism because the situation changes, right? At one time, you'll believe, you know, the science says masks don't help. Then at the next time, it says, well, science.
He didn't believe that, right? Though. By his own admission, he didn't believe that.
Saying
he's full of it. He knew he was full of it.
I agree with that. The fact that he said he didn't believe that, but I think some issues that it does change. The science does change. So, you know, go stay inside versus stay outside. Yeah, when there's no vaccine and in the hospital that's around here, when we got dead people on the streets, you know what I'm saying? That's a different scenario than obviously everybody's vaccinated. So, you know, it's a changing environment. But go ahead.
How many total COVID cases were there from outdoor to outdoor transmission total?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, that are documented. You're talking about basically, I think less than 10 that were documented, and the inside contact was a lot. So everyone go inside was actually much more dangerous than go outside.
No. Do you remember? Well, not the fact, but what just happened in India, right? The mass super spreader event that happened outside. Trump super spreader event.
Well, I meant specifically in the U.S. because I think India might be.
Trump's super spreader event happened outside. They were in the Rose Garden when they.
If you buy that it was because of that event, then sure.
20 people at that event got COVID. 20 people who attended that event got COVID. Was it that event? Yeah. Like that was a super spreader. And the one in India, right?
Yeah, but all the riots and rallies for Black Lives Matter.
No, they got COVID too. Of course, that worked.
Totally okay, but it was totally okay because racism is a bigger public health disease.
No. I don't know about that. But I'm talking about the outside of the COVID stuff. Obviously, things
look, change. I'm jaded as hell. Mm-hmm. You're interrupting my jaded flow rant, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to understand. I'm like, about that one, but go ahead.
So anyways, Fauci's credibility is, and of course the most recent thing is dealing with this lab leak theory, which was something very early in the Trump administration, and there was reason to believe it. There is, in fact, a research facility in Wuhan. Mm-hmm. And although I didn't know this at the time, they were studying coronavirus, which makes sense. And it would make sense that they had the disease from nature, and they might have been doing gain of function research, which is where you give it additional qualities in order to study it. So it's like giving it supercharge so you can study it. And somehow it escaped from the lab because, that is a potential risk. And Trump says it, and it's because Trump says it, it's racist, it's xenophobic, it's the worst thing ever. Anyone who believes any version of this is just part of the conspiracy. They're part of the Asian hate. Anything that believes this is just hate of Asians, hate of the Chinese, xenophobic, whatever the specific version of Chinese phobia is, because there's a specific word for it, I can't remember right now, that it's racist, that it's anti-Asian, all that stuff. And then the emails, and the reason it's notable is because there's emails from January of last year, so basically when the virus was happening, when the first case was happening in the United States, that's January of last year basically, that there's emails that they're saying, hey, there might be a lab issue here. This might be due to a lab escape, which is a perfectly plausible theory, given the things I just said. Now, it may or may not be true, but it's plausible. A little bit less plausible is that China was doing it deliberately to harm people, or that they purposely infected. But the idea to escape the lab, that's plausible. And now we have emails that say that, and Dr. Fauci over here, during his testimony to Congress, was basically shitting on Rand Paul anytime he suggested anything, because Rand Paul would say a thing, and then they'd have their little tit-a-tat. And even though Rand Paul, of course, himself is a doctor, but he would talk down to him and condescend. And it's annoying because Rand Paul was pretty much right, and Dr. Fauci is an ass. That's what I think. How about that for an opinion?
Go ahead, Lydia.
I mean, there's a lot to respond to. No, but Fauci I'm of multiple minds about Fauci. I mean, I know that those emails are particularly troublesome, the ones where he's recognizing that it could have possibly been a leak out of a lab. And I completely agree with what Kurt was saying, that or excuse me, what Uncivil Law was saying.
Yeah, that's
fine. But about how anyway, but yeah, I do agree. I do very much agree that it is very, very troublesome that there's a reaction to a particular possibility, a factual possibility, when it depends on who's saying it, right? That should never be any sort of real, well, not necessarily never should be a factor. I mean, we, filtering where we get our information, obviously that's a good thing. But when it comes to the president of the United States, if he's a particular political persuasion that's not yours or that is yours, I think that in particular shouldn't necessarily factor whether we agree or whether we give that possibility credence or not. So I think that now, of course, it's particularly convenient now that he's not in power, now that there's been enough time enough air space in the conversation, that people are saying, well, maybe that was a possibility. It's incredibly convenient, to say the least.
And let me just modify what I said earlier, because I think I didn't say it as articulately as I liked. If you want to discount what Trump says, or what Biden says for that matter, because they're politicians and they might be lying to you, I totally understand. Politician lies, film at 11, right? So I totally get that if you want to dismiss what they have to say based on their track record or based on political preference or whatever else. The thing that makes Fauci, to me, particularly annoying is that he's supposed to be theoretically above that, right? He's supposed to be a scientist first, a doctor first. He's supposed to be apolitical. The NIH is a government agency, and like every governmental agency, the agencies are apolitical. The agencies, at least especially at the bureaucratic level, don't really care who the president is. They go through their mission through law one way or another, and they don't really care who the president is at any time. And people are supposed to be above that. And when you have the person who's the head of NIH, the head of infectious diseases, who's coming out with scientific authority, doctor authority, and to the point that other doctors at the time were being censored on YouTube and other social medias, even other doctors. I remember there was an incident with these two physicians who made a podcast relatively early on, disagreeing with Fauci. They were removed from social media. When you have that level of authority, that anything that contradicts him, anything that contradicts the WHO, which I don't know why we should trust them at all, is completely disallowed from social media. And then it comes out that he was purposefully, knowingly telling us falsehoods, like don't wear masks, because it's for the good of the order. That's where it's really frustrating. So I understand people discounting Trump, because Trump says a lot of crap. So if you don't want to trust Trump, I get it. But theoretically, you're supposed to trust Fauci, and I don't find him to be trustworthy. And it's a little bit annoying that when you say trust the science, I can't apparently trust the science anymore, because he's supposed to be telling me the science, and not so much now.
Well, so there's a difference, though, and this is something that I've always contended, is that you can trust the science but distrust the scientists, because scientists, just like any other human being, can use facts, can use data in order to skew towards a particular result. I mean, we know this in our profession, right? This is what we do, is we take facts.
No, we're above that.
We take facts, we take a fact pattern, and we advocate for a particular side. Now, that's not usually what we expect out of scientists. That's not what we usually want out of scientists, because we want them to remain, completely objective. And I think that's what's particularly angersome about this sort of revelation. And I mean, on the one hand, I'm still open to the possibility that, at least to some extent, there was more data that was coming out over time, and doctors can change their mind with new information just like anyone else can. But like you said, I mean, when there's proof showing that there was knowledge of a particular possibility privately, and then there were public statements that were made saying that it's not a possibility, that is particularly troublesome. Yeah, I mean, especially when this is someone that the public at large really put a lot of trust into. I mean, at the very beginning of the pandemic, I think, at least the impression that I had, was that most people were, they viewed him as pretty neutral, politically speaking. But then over time, when there started to be this I think political divide on Fauci, and I don't know. I mean, the wheel sort of went off the rails.
Yeah, I think this is you know what? Well, what I think is people are trying to make Fauci out to be the bad guy, and I understand why, because obviously everything is political in nature. So, for instance, when we talk about Fauci said not wearing masks, so did the CDC, so did Deborah Birx, so did Trump's Surgeon General, right? All of them in unison was saying masks don't work. So it wasn't. So just to say let's say that it was just Fauci out there saying this. Now, I think Fauci, by him saying, well, I think we know they worked, but then he said there was no evidence, but then he said, well, he really thought he did. So I definitely condemn him for that. But it wasn't that I was just only, I was only believing Fauci. Their whole administration was saying that, right? Their whole administration, we can pull up the tape where they're all saying masks don't work. And then they all said, then one day they said, guess what? Masks do work. And then people say, whoa, how do you trust the science? Now, my understanding is that they then did those studies, and you can see those studies on YouTube if you guys want to see them, about the effectiveness of mask. For instance, when you're breathing a mask and how the mask, robs energy and doesn't let particles travel this far. So there's science behind it. And when they said, here are the studies. So people said, now that we have these studies, hold on, let me finish. They said, now that we have these studies, now we believe masks are effective because of this reason. And here's the reason why. So that I understand. But I if Fauci, because he did lie to us, that's plain. He did lie to us. So I do accept that, and I do accept, as a health professional, somebody who he he had the reputation of telling it to us plainly, but then he's lying to us. So obviously that reputation was misfound. But I don't think, because looking at the email from reading the article, it didn't seem to me like he was saying. All right, it seemed to me like somebody said, "Hey." At first, there was one email in which one of the scientists, one of the people who saw the DNA code, was saying, "Hey, this almost looks engineered. This looks engineered. Something looks funny about this." Right? That's just an allegation, right? I'm not going to go public with that. I'm just telling you, I have one guy who sent me an email and he says it looks, it's scared of public. It's from a lab in China. No, I would suspect someone who's responsible would say, well, what evidence do we have? It may look that way, but before I go out there and accuse the Chinese government, of this, maybe I want a little bit more evidence. And then, that's what he kept saying. I'm looking for evidence. I'm looking for evidence. There's not enough evidence. And now I think they have enough evidence, right? They had 6 people within the lab who got sick within the same amount of time, and obviously we're studying coronaviruses, and there was some inklings there. But my issue with this whole story isn't the fact that he even got this email. It's the fact that they said this was a debunked story.
Yeah.
They claimed this was a debunked conspiracy theory. Yeah. And that, I think, was the lie. I don't think it was a lie. I think someone sending me an email saying they think it maybe from China, or they think this lab was, or those correspondents. Those are just nothing, right? Without any evidence. But if you tell me it's debunked, I'm assuming you have evidence that this thing is not true. That was not true. And now we know it likely is from a Wuhan lab. So my outrage I definitely am outraged that we were lied to, but I think my outrage is pointed differently than Kirk's outrage.
Yeah, that's fair. I apologize for interrupting you. We can move on.
Because I think your point is correct. Fauci, straight up lied. There's no way around it. But I'm just my opinion of him is different. And again, like you were just saying, I don't think I'll trust him. Right? I'm not going to trust whatever he says, but he put himself in that situation. Trust science. Plants crave electrolytes. Okay. So now,
what even is an electrolyte? That's right.
Isn't that from the movie?
Yeah, I know
the movie.
Yeah.
So what's the plan for the rest of the week? What do you got planned? Any videos coming up? Legal Bites.
Yeah, so the Kim Kardashian employment situation with her housekeeping and gardening personnel, I guess, is suing her for employment claims, along with the company that she contracted with to hire them. So I wanted to do a video on that.
So hold on. So it's the employee for the company that's suing her?
Yes. Yeah. It's a joint employer issue. So the question is whether or not Kim K can actually be sued under these circumstances in California.
So this is issued. So if I have a contract with the company for someone to claim, but now that person is suing the client directly as an employee,
right? And the company that actually hired the person.
Oh, that's a hell of a joinder there. Seems like we're going to be learning about some civil procedure.
Yeah, it's not terribly uncommon in California law, so we will we'll go through it.
What about you, Kurt?
Well, I think in honor of this conversation, I'm gonna poop on the CDC and the federal government some this week because I'm in that kind of mood. So I got some videos ready to go that I can release along those lines. So I think for tomorrow's video, I'm going to release a video regarding the CDC when they tried to say you can't evict people because federal law, and one of the federal courts telling them no,
you don't have that power.
Because it doesn't make any sense. And I think also I might be talking about a guy who was barred from immigrating because of health reasons. So I think it was actually an asylum claim, which made it marginally more interesting too. So I think we'll finish off with Health Week because I'm mad at Fauci. That sounds like good things to do.
What do you they had there's an interesting legal issue that came up here in New York that people are concerned about. And actually, there seem to be some good claims, but so this is what's going on. So they're trying to figure out if they're going to require children 12 and up to be vaccinated before they go to school. Now, at first glance, you would say, well, they have to be vaccinated anyway, right? Mumps, measles, rubella, so forth, right? But
Yeah.
so they're saying, well, we're just going to add the COVID vaccine to that list. But the challenge to that is that the COVID vaccine isn't actually an approved. It's only authorized for emergency use.
It's technically not approved. It's emergency use authorization, and that is not the same thing.
So the argument is that private companies can. Well, first, there's two questions. Number one, can private companies do this? But second, now can the government do this take a vaccine that's for emergency use? That means, we're not sure it's good because we haven't been having long-term studies. We believe it's good. Is it legal for the government to require you use something that hasn't been approved by the FDA before you send your child to school?
And who's requiring this? Just random school authority?
Some states. Some states.
It's like I don't feel comfortable on that on any number of levels. That just seems wrong.
Well, my understanding was there are a number of university systems that have been talking about requiring the vaccine. But my understanding, at least when I've come across it, is that they've said that when it's FDA approved officially, that they would then require it for students.
Well,
so I don't know before that point though.
Well, because the argument is that can a state, for instance, if you work for police force, if you work for a state hospital, could they compel you as a condition of your employment to be vaccinated with the emergency use? Because we're all emergency use, right? Moderna actually just asked for full authorization, but all COVID vaccines right now are emergency use, and now some companies have required it, and even some government facilities have required it. So is that legal?
I think that they have to allow for exceptions for religion and for health reasons.
Obviously.
They have to. And then in that case, I mean, I think that they can. But I think it's very risky because if somebody, I've thought about this before actually, if somebody gets the COVID vaccine only for the purposes of their employment, like they were otherwise not planning on getting it, and they only got it because their boss was making them, or else they would fire them. Then if they end up having some very serious side effects to it, that is a result of their employment. So there's possible liability for the employer.
I like it.
A tort claim.
Mm-hmm.
A tort claim.
I like it.
But what about the federal government, though?
I mean, if that's their employer, I think the same is possibly true there. I mean, because it's not.
You'll never be able to sue the federal government. You're hosed.
Yeah, because it's
but private employer you might have a chance.
Yeah, the federal government you may not. But
no.
But I think it's a fascinating issue because can you force somebody to take something that's an emergency use? Can you not? I think Alita's point is fabulous. I would definitely take that case. Yes, sue the employer, but I think suing the federal government because they have the sovereign immunity, that may be.
No, that's true. I mean, unless there's, there would
pass
be
a statute.
Yeah.
So that's the issue. But hey, this is what we think about. We're lawyers. Let me read these super chats. I gave Fauci a pass, but I have to give the public at large a pass as well if he ends up getting canceled for lying to us. Well, yeah, but I don't think he's going to get canceled because right now the media is giving him the we love Fauci.
Honestly, though, I don't think even if he was socially canceled, though, I mean, he's been in his job for like 35 years, for almost 40 years. He has tenure. Even if he just was forcibly retired, he's got a pension like right away. So he's going to be fine if he gets canceled.
What has he been? 40 years, he'll be okay. Electrolytes are basically salts, ionic compounds. Yeah, I think Fauci's going to be more than fine. He's just, it's nobody's got to worry for Fauci. But I think now it's interesting to see the difference in administration because somebody slapped me with this with me not being consistent on this. When Trump first went into office, and I used to always say the first year of the new Trump of the presidency is really the last year of the last guy, right? So if the economy is going good, you really blame the last guy because especially if you had that trend, right? Things were always trending. So with Obama, things were trending down for like 20 months straight, and Trump just rolled into it. But now with Biden, the kind of the same thing was happening. Things were starting to get better under Trump. Biden comes in, and now, we're at the end of the pandemic. Guess what? We got all these vaccines. You expect the economy to grow 6%, right?
But he's managing to screw that up.
But no, it did. The GDP grew 6%. But I'm going to say who do you blame? Do you give Trump the credit or do you give Biden the credit? Now, I'm just going to be fair. I'm going to give Trump the credit because Trump was the one who did Operation Warp Speed. Trump was the one that put all this stuff in place. So I give Trump the credit in putting all the stuff in place, because don't forget, we had the vaccine before Biden got in the office. But then I'll give Biden the credit for managing it to get it to where it's at.
True.
So what do you think, Kurt? Sorry, I cut you off.
Well, I think Biden is doing a lot of damage to the economy because of things that he has implemented. When they put in this bonus, effectively, I don't know what else you'd call it, for unemployment. There's like, let's give unemployment plus.
That was under Trump. That was under Trump.
Okay.
Yeah, they called it the Pandemic Relief Fund. That actually started under Trump. And remember, they couldn't pass it again.
I withdraw my comment.
Passed it.
Yeah, that was a continuation. But I'm with you, Nate. I think that whatever policies started under Trump that were good should obviously be credited to Trump, and then for continuing good policies under Biden, credit goes to Biden, and the proper management of certain policies too, because that's the other thing, right? Is that the vaccine rollout could have been completely bungled under the Biden administration, and so far it seems like, well, I don't know. I mean, some states were smoother than others, right? Because there were a lot of vaccines that were like expiring or whatever, right? Because some states were just so slow in getting the juice out to people. But I think at this point, it seems like things have mostly smoothed out, and I think that, I mean, I don't know. There's credit for both presidents, for under this situation, I think.
Yeah,
Before we sign off for the day, I just want to see if we can hit the story that I posted to you guys on Twitter.
Let me throw that. Hold on. Let me see. Let me do these last two. You open it up, Kurt. Hold on. Let me see.
I only saw the basics of it. I did not get into the details.
It's definitely worth our time.
Hold on. It's got what plants craved. Put water on it, like from the toilet. I never know. Idiocracy, right?
Yeah.
An example of our current politicians. Yes, I love that movie too. I gave Ripple Operations the credit. Yay, Fed Daddy. Oh. All right. So Kurt, fill us in with this story. What's going on? Thank you for the super.
All right. So this is. You go ahead.
No, I read it already.
Yeah. All right. So this is a interesting crime story from Florida, because yay Florida, right? So I like this one very much. Florida 10-year-old was shot after man returns paintball fire with real gunfire. All right, so we got a 10-year-old shooting with a paintball, and someone shoots him with a real gun. But the details are where things get interesting. All right. So apparently, Michael Williams, age 26, is the father in this equation. And he told the Oprah police that his son begged him to do drive-bys with a paintball gun. And he said yes. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, no. His son wanted to shoot at houses with his paintball gun from the car, which you might call a drive-by with a paintball gun, right? And his father said yes. So his son begged him to drive by a home where young people were gathered so he could fire his paintball gun out of the car window. Williams, age 26, the father of this equation, drove by said home as his son fired off multiple rounds from his paintball gun. The homeowner, thinking maybe it was a real drive-by, came out and fired one shot which struck the child.
Oh my God.
Then the boy, but here's where it gets even worse. Even worse. Remember I said how I said out the window?
Yeah.
Earlier? Yeah, that was actually, I was purposely misleading you, because the boy wasn't actually in the car at the time. He was on the car. On the hood of the car, shooting the paintball gun from the moving car of the drive-by. So when the
I shouldn't be laughing because this child got shot.
When the son was shot, he fell off the car, and then his dad, 26, ran over his son. because he was on top of the car at the time. The boy is alive. So, yeah, so we get to laugh by it. And the father has been charged with child neglect, which I can't think of any reason why. Can you?
Oh my God.
So
he's not getting a Father's Day gift.
This is yeah. So I like the headline because it's like when you read the headline, it's like the 10-year-old shot because you think to yourself, oh my God, this is just a reckless gun owner. You know, can't he tell a paintball gun from anything else? And then you read the details and you're like, oh no.
I'm surprised the news hasn't spent this as man with gun kills kid with paintball gun, you know?
This 26-year-old father has a 10-year-old, so you can do the math on that one. And apparently is continuing to make good decisions in his life. So.
Oh, that's all kind of stupid.
I've heard in places before that it's just projections that men tend to mature at the age of 27, and before the age of 27, they usually are not fully matured. And this would lend credence to that theory.
Amen to that. Maybe the son was inspired by the movie 8 Mile. They did that in that movie, except holy moly, there was no on top of car shooting. Yeah. I remember that at 8 Mile. Yeah. I don't know. It's that's kind of sick though for a dad to, you know.
I don't think this is the optimum for father-son bonding time.
But
let me help my 10-year-old get his bones by helping him on that drive-by.
All right. So hold on. So you're on top of the car hood. So the kid's on top of the car hood.
Yeah.
And he gets under the car. So that means he had to roll off the car, and then the father had to roll over. Right?
Yes.
So he fell and then go over.
Yes.
Yeah. Pops must have been trying to get the hell out of there too. They shooting.
Yeah.
Because even if you press the gas, the kid's gonna roll up into the car, right?
Right.
So you're not gonna roll over him. So that means the kid had to roll off, and he had to roll. I don't know.
Or maybe he was thinking that he would scoop him on the hood or something. I don't know. Well, that poor kid.
Yeah, that poor kid. Maybe father over here, 26, should have said, no, I don't think doing a drive-by with a paintball gun is a good idea.
Oh my God.
So some family court judge is going to have to try to explain it to dad over here. And what do you think the probability is dad is going to understand anything that the family judge says about how this maybe wasn't a great plan?
Well, first he's got to do it when he's going to criminal court, right? That's endangering the welfare of a child right there.
Yeah.
Sure.
So some judges are going to have to explain it to him. It's like, this is not a good plan. What part of this sounded like a good plan to you?
And then the mom, is mom involved?
Where is mom? Where was she?
That's a full custody issue. If mom was at work, she's getting full custody, right?
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, I can see it right now. Mom won't let me do a drive-by. Well, that's okay, son.
I'm a fun parent.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh no.
Well, listen. Next week we are going to be on Kurt's channel at 9 o'clock. So we'll have some fun stories then, and then the week after that will be on Legal Bites. I'm going to put it on the calendar so we can just have it all, because every week it's like we always forget. It's like,
it used to be that I was like really on top of it, like whose channel we were going, and then last week I was like, wait, I can't remember. So yeah, even me now. Like
now I just go back to your channels. I'm like, all right, was it on this one last week? No,
yeah, that's right.
Was it on Kirk's last week? Okay, no, it was 2 weeks ago. All right. So
it's
good. So. Well, listen, guys.
Why does it feel like it's my turn every week? That's what I want to really know.
Well, it's funny because things have slowed down for a lot of the guys. I know a lot of people are just saying that, like, I know Emily got a big jump because she was on Philip. She did the Philip DeFranco thing, but everybody's saying that everybody's now just flattened out.
I'm stalled. I'm completely stalled on growth. I've been stalled on growth for a while.
Yeah, I know. Viva's flattened out. I flattened out. Emily's now flattened out. It looks like Nick is flattened out. Like nobody can.
Nate, we're going to have to start a rap battle, or we're going to start. It's the only thing. It's the only thing that get the rappers big is starting a beef. So I have to start a beef with you, or I have to start a beef with legal. I have to start a beef with somebody.
Go start a boxing tournament.
We can make this an East Coast West Coast thing. I don't know.
No, you know what? You know what I think is happening. I think at beginning. Because we all have been growing based on topics. like you grew on based on the topic. You had the drama beauty stuff. I kind of had the U.S. women's soccer stuff that blew me up. So I think now there's really no hot topics. You know,
there
the
are.
Chauvin side, the Chauvin trial isn't up or whatever. I'm talking about like the ones that get us the views. Like I'm a police shooting guy, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's been a lot going on in the crypto world. So there might be some videos in there as well. I know a lot of influencers were shilling a lot of teeny tiny micro cap altcoins that have turned out to not really turn out much. So there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions there as to why they were shilling those and who was paying them.
We need to have our own cryptocurrency. Everyone else does. Let's have Lawcoin. That'll be great.
Isn't that how Venezuela tried to get out of their thing? They had the cryptocurrency, but it didn't work.
The what?
I know. What's his name? Venezuela. They tried to put out a cryptocurrency based on it because they have the world's largest oil reserves, which I didn't know for a while. So they have even more than Saudi Arabia. They sit on the world's largest, except it's what they call dirty crude, where it has to be more refined or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know about whether Venezuela tried to sell one up, but I know that a number of countries have started to at least look at setting up a digital coin asset. But I would not trust any Venezuelan cryptocurrency ever. I mean, you look at the crazy hyperinflation that they've had over the last, I don't know what, like 20 years or something.
Yeah, if it winds up being a stable source of value, though, it could be the thing that drags Venezuela out. Because wasn't this the thing that Brazil did to get themselves out of this hyperinflation? I'm trying to go back. Because didn't Brazil invent didn't they basically invent a hypothetical new currency and basically did stuff to prevent it from hyperinflating and basically got them out of the situation?
Oh, I'm not sure. This is the one from it's called the Petra. It's from the government of Venezuela, but nobody uses it though. But yeah, so it was they launched it in 2018, cryptocurrency used by the government of Venezuela.
Venezuela's the place to go for vacation though, right? Because my dollar goes further.
Oh, a dollar's like $1 million there. So
yeah. It's the
I get out
exchange
alive,
rate is
though,
insane.
That's the real key.
If you can find food.
If you can find food.
Toilet paper.
Oh my God, it's so
real
horrible.
Concerns there. Yeah.
But that's because their currency was locked to the price of oil, and when the price of oil tanked, their currency tanked. I mean, their economy tanked. It sucked. But
yeah, I don't know the exact reasons for why their economy collapsed, but I understand it had something to do with socialism, something to do with the oil industry. But what exactly the connections are, I don't know.
All right, it's easy. Under Chavez, what he did was when they since they were selling oil, but they were outsourcing something like 100 million gallons a day or something like that, whatever the amount of number is. But anyway, that was their main source of income. So what they did is they took the profits from the oil that sold on the market, and oil prices were like $200 a barrel or whatever the high number was back then. So they took that and then had all these social programs. So they were feeding people, had everybody government jobs. It was socialism on steroids. Hey, everybody's socialism. But when the price of oil tanked, then now they didn't have that money to then buy into to pay for all these services. And then Chavez died. And then the new guy comes in,
Maduro.
And then the prices continue to tank. So now you had all these social. So now the government, the teachers couldn't get paid because they just didn't have any income. So what they did was to try to get out of not having enough income, they just made more money. They said, okay, what we can do is make more money. So they created more money, which caused the inflation. So the hyperinflation.
I want to look into this history. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty well documented now, but the interesting part of it is the hyperinflation.
Not documented enough since we have some politicians in the U.S. trying to recreate it for some reason.
Well, right now, because but the thing is that the United States, though, I don't think is susceptible to that because so many countries use our currency, and our currency is just pegged on so many different levels. But I think we can have inflation, but you'll never have hyperinflation. Like the Chinese government keeps like $2 trillion of U.S. currency on hand, So
I don't want to say it's going to happen. I don't want to say it's going to happen tomorrow, but I am very uncomfortable with our debt to GDP ratio. Our debt to GDP ratio is just so high, and Biden is has basically a $10 trillion plan right now, which is a little bit about half the current total debt. And he's just manufacturing out of nowhere.
Well, that's the same thing that Trump, the $10 trillion.
Yeah, so so I'm not saying it's any better, but
Obama did the same thing with healthcare. Another $10 trillion.
The cost of commodities, we've seen increase in commodities, although that's arguably due to COVID and due to the supply chain problems. But so it's a little bit hard to unpack that from the inflation issues. But I'm not at all comfortable with our debt to GDP ratio, especially since it's going nowhere but up. I feel like at some point we're going to wind up where Japan was in, like, say, the 80s, and we'll have to figure out a way to dig ourselves out of that, which will be really painful.
But you got to.
Greece was not too long ago.
But the thing is that I think you have to understand. Well, the one thing about it is that the United States is so intertwined with all these other countries that if our currency was to go to shit, we take everybody else down with us. China, for instance, China's heavily dependent. They actually peg their currency to our currency, but they're heavily dependent. You're talking about even all the countries. You know how many countries where the U.S. dollar is the official currency of that country?
Yes.
That's crazy. So it's.
I think China would be fine without us. I think China would just wind up eating us for breakfast.
If they lost $2 trillion, I don't know.
Well, what's $2 trillion between friends but a rounding error, right?
That's true.
Yeah, the new phrase is a trillion here or a trillion there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money.
Yeah, $6 trillion. It's crazy. Well, listen, guys, we are about an hour and 11 minutes in, and I think you're 100% right. It's the numbers are getting crazy, and I think hopefully the Republicans in Congress can at least slow this train down, because it is starting to get scary. Every president comes in with a $10 trillion plan. Eventually, somebody will pay for that shit. Yeah, it's like, what the fuck is going on here? No, it started with Bush. Bush came in. He wants to spend $10 trillion in tax cuts. And here comes Obama. Well, let's spend it on health care. Then here comes Trump. Let's give another $10 trillion away. And now here comes Biden. Let's spend another $10 trillion on infrastructure. It's like, what the hell? Can't we just stop the spending?
What if we stop spending money? That balanced budget amendment, I have to say, is looking better and better with every passing moment. Here's a bold plan. What if we only spent the amount of money that we actually had coming in? Whoa! But
then that wouldn't have got you COVID relief, though. That would have been crazy, because then that.
Well, look,
you know how much debt spending is killing.
I'm perfectly comfortable. I'm perfectly comfortable with having. So if I were writing a balanced budget amendment, I basically say you can't pass beyond the spending unless you get 2/3 of both houses. So if you get 2/3 of both houses, then fine. Because in a true emergency, like a hurricane or a natural disaster or something like that, you should be able to get 2/3 of both houses and say, this is a true emergency, so we'll go past the budget. But you can't do it with a simple majority. So that will count for, like, war and disasters and everything like that. Maybe actually put Congress on a budget.
No, but I think what Congress would have to do is they would have to pass that amendment for, like, the emergency, because sometimes emergencies you can't get everybody back to pass new legislation in 2 days when you got the hurricane bearing down. You need to spend that money. So I think you still would have to be some flexibility within the system.
You're telling me Congress can't get, well, first of all, in this age of whatever, I'm not sure they necessarily have to get back to DC. So we can amend the rules around that. But in any case, it's like, if they can't get back to DC, I don't know, man. That's one heck of a disaster.
Well, listen, thank you guys for watching us. Thanks again to my two guests for stopping by, both Alita and Uncivil Law. Please go check out their channels. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And my name is Nate the Lawyer. I'll be on tomorrow with, in fact, who am I on tomorrow with? All right, I'm on tomorrow with Eric Huntley, and we're going to be talking about the election as long as YouTube allows us to, because you can't say too many bad things about the election. But I'm showing up with someone who thinks the election was stolen and blah 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 blah. But
interesting.
He has proof. Yeah.
Good luck.
I'll listen to anything. Then I'll be on Friday. I think I'm on Friday. I'm not sure if I'm going to be on Friday. I think I'm on Friday. I'm going to be on Viva's channel Friday, and then I'm going to be putting out some more content. For some reason, everybody loves my explainer video, so I think I'm going to be headed on to that. And I'm actually going to be, for members, I'm actually going to start putting out legal videos just about learning the law. Let's start with because I found that I had so much content from when I taught the law school, like so many videos about when I taught family law. Here's all the family law material. Here's all the criminal law material. So I can I'm like, I can give that to people for free. Especially if you're a member. So if people want to learn that stuff, they'll have access to that. But that is what I got planned coming up, and you guys heard what they have planned coming up. So let me get out of here and stop wasting everybody's time. My name is Nick the Lawyer, and I'll see you tomorrow.